So another thing that they've fixed that is change, which is going to be only like some people are going to use, because this is hard. It's going to affect more of us because of goodness that will come from this being available. But the task that you return from an async method, so that has had to be exactly threading.task, one of its versions. Okay, it couldn't be something close.
Right.
Now this is a problem because it's a reference type. So again, as we talked about earlier, that means it's going to be an allocation on the heap. And this may be not a reason we really need to have an allocation on the heap. And a great example of that is if you've got something that's going to take a long time, but you're going to cache the value when you get it back. And so maybe you're going to invalidate that cache every 10 minutes. Okay, so you wind up, you come in and you make this long call. And because you're going to have this long call every once in a while, this has to be an async method. But it's going to short circuit and never do the long part of that call. It's just, but it has to wrap up its return value in a task because sometimes it needs to do that. Okay, so before that had to be an allocation on the heap, which means every time you touch that method to get that thing, you had an extraneous allocation on the heap just to return that value, just to wrap it. Okay,
which kind of defeats the purpose of having the asynchronous method in some sense.
Not exactly defeat the purpose, but it definitely you're adding something to that. So you're winning on one side, and then you just have this little nit on the other that's just kind of picking at you. So now they've changed, and it has to be a close cousin. Let's just say that. I mean, it has to follow the rules. Okay, but it doesn't even have to match an interface, or I don't believe it has to match an interface. I mean, I'm not going to write these things. You're not going to write these things. Okay, but there already is a value task. So that particular case is already handled, and it's an interesting change because if you've watched Microsoft as long as we have, you know that there was this long time where what they said is, well, this is what we want to do for you, but if we did it any bigger, you might do something unusual. Or we might want to make a change, and it would be like a backwards change, and so we have to do just the smallest thing we can do. They don't do that anymore. Now they've got this more generalization idea. And so here, instead of just making a value task and finishing, just saying, we did it, that's all we're doing, okay, they've actually created rules around that so that there can be additional task types in the future if somebody has a compelling reason. Now, no normal person's going to write these. I mean, there's probably 100 people on the planet that could do it right. You know,
but they can do it now, is the point.
But it's legal now, and so
that's fantastic.
Microsoft or other people who have a compelling reason to get in there and do something with that. And there are some other reasons around the way awaiters work that somebody might want to go in there and do a different type of awaiter.
That's interesting.
So yeah. So that's one that's really nice to have out there. That I'm not going to demo it. I just want people to know that there's this breadth, and we're not going to touch on everything. We're not going to even mention everything. But I think we're going to get most of the high points.